to the movies made us do it. How are you doing, Matt?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. Yourself, sir?
Excellent. I am doing very well.
Yeah. See, now I say I'm doing well, but I'd like to have a mini rant.
Start with a rant.
So I understand with all the things that are going on at the moment, it's all fucking awful and all that sort of stuff. However,
Yes.
complete first world problems. I would like to say. So first off, I am exceedingly pissed off with Netflix.
So am I. Well, I mean, Netflix are, yeah.
So first off, they cancel the Dark Crystal.
Oh, yes, they have. Yeah, they've cancelled Dark Crystal.
Which is, I just don't understand why they would do that. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, they've cancelled a lot.
Well, yes, I'm getting there. So then, of course, we had all the stuff with the movies being pushed back again.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're not getting June till next year. We're not getting the Batman till 2 years.
Yes. So, I mean, multiple issues there.
Yeah.
I think Netflix. This is a good rant. Actually, this is a good. This is a good place to start.
And then my second one for Netflix is they cancelled Glow.
Yes, they have. My girlfriend was.
Even started filming the first. They've got one episode in the bag.
Yeah.
And they were filming the second one, and of course, obviously, COVID came in again, and they had to stop. But they decided to just cancel it.
I know that
they show the ones they've got done.
The cast are pushing for an hour or 2 hour movie to round it out.
God, I hope so, because I mean the ending of the second season was like, I want to see where this goes. It was a great ending.
And then, the Netflix thing. Go on, finish your Netflix rant.
I was just say, just to round off the misery. It's not really movie related. It's just the fact that Eddie Van Halen died.
Oh, I know. That's just horrendous news. I didn't realise he was battling cancer for so long. I had no idea.
I know he was ill, but I didn't realise how serious it was.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of celebrities keep that sort of thing quiet anyway. And it's none of our business. But yeah, horrendous to hear. I mean, God, talk about, like, soundtrack of my childhood.
Absolutely.
Van Halen, huge. Back to your rants though, because this is an interesting subject, because I've been giving this some thought myself. Netflix, for the first rant, I don't think that Netflix understand how series work, and I think it's really going to hurt them in the long run. They have a broken model that used to work for Netflix when they were the only game in town. Doesn't work anymore. Amazon have a much more sensible approach. You release a series, you release an episode a week. People keep talking about it for 22 weeks. If it's a 22 season long episode, 22 episodes, they will talk about it for 22 weeks. You will get videos, reviews every single week about that one show. 22 weeks versus I'll binge it all in one weekend, and then they only talk about it for one weekend, and then no one talks about it again, and they don't get the repeat views, because guess what? At the end of the season, 22 episodes, I might go back and rewatch just for the finale, rewatch it again. You're getting none of that. They get none of the publicity over time that they would get if they actually released things sensibly instead of... I mean, personally, I love being able to binge things, so I like that Netflix do it.
I do as well.
But it's a bad model for them. It's a really bad model for them.
And the thing is, actually, the thing with Amazon is the thing with The Boys is that I have actually not watched The Boys yet, because I was waiting for it to sort of get a big group of things together.
And I mean, you have that option.
I need to be watching it with my wife as well, so she needs to take the time to watch it. But it's with that one, I actually do want to binge that one. So,
and that's fair enough, and that option's always available to people. But I think that from a business standpoint, you will make a lot more money and get a lot more views and a lot more hype if your series comes out episodic each week. There's more hype, longer hype, more people, eyes on the product. You'll get more people in. I also think that Netflix, because of this bad model, see that they don't get enough views. They're not getting enough hype about their shows, and they drop them. And what they don't realise is that TV shows, to be honest, for a good TV series, and I'm going back throughout my life history, as far as I see it, series don't get good until about season 3. They don't really hit their stride until season 3. Look at Star Trek Next Generation.
That's a
season 3.
Example. Yeah.
End of season 2, season 3 hits its stride. Brilliant. In fact, most Star Trek shows that were any good, season 3 is where they really hit their stride. In fact, series in general. Yeah, series in general. So yeah, I really think that the Netflix model's kind of broken, and then they kind of punish the shows for it. When really, I think it's their own fault. That it's like, the reason these shows aren't doing so well is because of the way you're releasing them. Quite honestly, I think you get hyped for a weekend and then it's done. And they're also terrible at advertising their shows as well. Really bad.
Yes, really bad. But I also think there's also a part of the thing of like they constantly want new stuff. They want new stuff. They want to move on. It's like, yeah, but you've got people that like the show that you're doing, like especially with Glow. Glow has got a really good audience. It's got really a big
huge following.
Yeah, why the hell and would you cancel that? It's just ridiculous. I mean, I understand the slight thing with the Dark Crystal in that that was not a cheap show.
Sure.
So I understand that obviously monetary wise it's going to be expensive to keep going with it, but I'm sure they could find a solution.
They could, make a shorter season. I don't know. There are ways around it, and it was a popular show.
And if you want to build up a good back catalogue of series that you want people to watch, you can't just keep doing 2 seasons and then cancelling.
I will be honest with you. I mean, I cancelled my Netflix subscription 2 days ago, actually. Not necessarily because of that, just because of this whole problem in general. It's got to the point, if Netflix release a new series, I'm not going to invest in it. I can't be bothered to watch it until I know it's going to last.
That's it, isn't it?
I've invested in so many shows, and my fiance's invested in so many shows. Glow was a prime example. The OA was a prime example.
It was an absolute fucking travesty. That was
Santa Clarita Diet.
That didn't have the fan base that it wanted, because it's a very niche show, the OA.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic, and I think with a little more word of mouth and a little more effort put into it, it could have gone on to be, a massive series. People would have come back to it.
And I think as well, if they publicised it properly, they'd probably get a lot more viewers, because they're terrible at publicising their stuff. Sometimes it's like the new Hill House is coming out this Friday, I think.
Yes.
I didn't even know it was coming out. And I've got Netflix. I had no idea. My housemate told me about a week ago, and I was like, I was wondering what was happening with that. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
if something new comes to Amazon, I know it's out there and I'm told about it,
Yeah. I don't know whether it's just a sort of an arrogance thing, or that, people will seek it out. It's like people will, if they want to know, they will seek it out. It's like, yeah, but that's not always the case, is it?
No, and I think, to be honest, they've got a model that used to work for them, and they've just not changed with the times. No. Especially when it comes to competition. They've got so much competition now, and some really strong competition as well. I mean, I have no interest in Disney Plus whatsoever.
No,
but a lot of people do, and they own a lot of licenses, and there's a lot of things that they can put on Disney Plus that could really eat Netflix's lunch.
Especially if they're going to start doing Alien movies and all the other properties they've got, then, at some point they're going to be in serious trouble against
I think they will, and I think that model doesn't help. And your second rant, part of the first rant, the cinema thing, I can only shake my head so much at Hollywood at the moment. I don't know what they're thinking. They seem to have this arrogant position, or maybe quite rightly they have this position of, we're not going to on demand. We're too big for video on demand. It must be a cinema release. And I think, fair enough, if that's your stance and that's what you want to do, cool, man, go for it. I'd rather see films in the cinema, so do that. But then they're like, oh no, but we won't make enough money yet, so we're going to delay all of our films. So guess what you're going to do? All the cinemas will go out of business. They'll all close, and then I'll see all of your shows on video on demand in a year's time, because that's basically what you're guaranteeing by doing what you're doing. It's just brain dead. Like, if you want to go VOD, just go VOD now. Don't hold out for a cinema release, because you're literally going to kill the cinemas doing this. Like, there are so many cinemas. I think Cineworld are like, we're closing everything. They were pinning their hopes on 007. And they're just delaying all of it now. So cinemas are done, really. I can't see cinema surviving if Hollywood isn't willing, if none of these studios are willing to take the loss and just go with it. I mean, I think Tenet did remarkably well, considering,
I think it did, yeah.
It's like 250 million or something.
Yeah.
Which ain't bad considering the situation.
Yeah.
But I just think at the moment they're I don't know, they're kind of screwing themselves over. I think in the future, because I think they're almost forcing themselves into VOD releases now by not releasing anything into the cinema now, because I'm not going to go back and rewatch something I watched already in the cinema. I mean, like Us is back in the cinema. I'm like, great, well, I saw it the first time it came out in the cinema. I've no real wish to go back and see it. I mean, even films I'd love, I've got them on DVD.
That's the only thing that's making me think, oh well, maybe, because I've never seen the Empire on the big screen.
Sure.
I've seen Jedi on the big screen, but I've never seen Empire on the big screen. And I would, I am very tempted to go and see it on the big screen. Same with Blade Runner as well. I mean, I've never seen Blade Runner on the big screen.
I'd be tempted to do Blade Runner.
I am incredibly tempted to go and see that sort of thing. But again, it's difficult, isn't it?
It is. But, I can tell you now films that would get me to the cinema today.
Go on. Well,
June.
Yep.
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yep.
New releases. Like, honestly, the films that we've been excited about, I would have gone to the cinema and saw Wonder Woman if it had come out when it was meant to come out. I don't give a crap now.
Well, yeah.
But unfortunately, they've kind of publicised it too much, and I've seen too much of it now, and I'm just like, oh, it looks awful.
Yeah, I think that's the other problem is especially with Wonder Woman, I think, was when they were first going to bring it out, we only knew so much, and we were already suspicious.
I was really hyped because I was hyped because I loved the first one. I thought it was great.
The further they push it away from us, the less I care.
I agree, because
I think already on a story that has the potential to be it was all a dream type thing is not going to make me want to go. Oh, the more I think about it, I'm not going to go to the cinemas. Fuck it. You know what I mean?
And I think that's almost certainly what it's going to be. It is going to be that, because it's still... I mean, now they seem to be doubling down on the idea that Justice League has happened. We got the Snyder Cut, and Cavill's hanging around, and maybe Ben Affleck's hanging around. It sounds more and more like, oh, we're continuing with this, which doubles the fact that Wonder Woman did nothing in the 80s, therefore we can have this whole thing, and then it's wished away, and it never happened at the end. And I absolutely hate cop-out endings to things like that. I hate watching a film that never happened. Great.
Yeah, because it's like,
terrific.
you mean, so you've basically made me watch a movie for 2 hours that doesn't exist and means nothing. Well, thank you very fucking much for that.
Also, we're reading all of these things that are happening in the show, in the movie, like, Wonder Woman's going to make this wish, and she's going to be vulnerable. She's going to lose some of her powers, which is something I also hate in superhero movies anyway. Depower someone is a good... For me, that's classic. You're just writing badly and you don't know what to do with this character. But either way, there's no suspense for me in that, because I saw her in Batman v Superman and she's got all of her powers. So, it's not going to last. None of it will last. And obviously it won't last, and we kind of know that. But I like to suspend my disbelief of that for a little while. And I can't do that because I'm going in being like, it's a prequel. I know she gets all of her powers back, and I know she's fine. And I know Steve Trevor's not around in Batman v Superman, so that's not going to last. It's all kind of like, why did you do it? They're obsessed with setting all films in the 90s or 80s at the moment. Yeah. And that's the only reason. They could have made it and set it after Justice League, and then it would have been fine. And then I would have been like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't have no idea what's going to happen. But now we're almost certain that we already know what's going to happen, and we could be wrong. I'd be happy if I was wrong, but I think me and you are probably right about this, and the rumors are true, that by the end of this movie nothing will have happened. But the point is, I would have gone to the cinema had they released it when they were meant to release it. And I also think now we're at the point where it's comical. Just stop announcing when films are coming out. Just say they're going to come out when we're able to.
When we're ready to do it.
We'll announce a schedule. They keep putting these arbitrary dates, and that's all they are now. It's just arbitrary dates, because you get to them and it's like, okay, that's not happening. I think we even said a couple of shows back, like, Bond's not happening on that date. They claim, but it's not. It'll be another pushback.
Yep. It's a really weird sort of circle of fuck, because like you said, it's like, well, you want the cinemas, you want it in the cinemas, but the cinemas aren't going to be there. So
no,
it's just going round in circles.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I think just release it on VOD, or either take the hit and put it in cinemas, or release it VOD. Because I'll tell you now,
Yeah.
if it's a film I really want to see, it wouldn't be like more than once a month, but I would buy Godzilla vs Kong for 30 quid to watch it and own it. I would.
Yeah.
And I'd do the same for June. I couldn't afford to do that twice in a month, but I would do it, this month, and next month I'd watch June. I'd do that. So, either that or put it in the cinemas, and that would get me to a cinema, because those are films that are big enough that I have a vested interest in, that I want to see, and I'll go.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go and, see whatever's, I don't know, Inception or whatever else they're chucking out there now. I know we've got Tenet now, so I'm guessing they've probably stopped doing that. But I know Us, I saw in there the other day in the listings, and I was like, well, I enjoyed it when I saw it, but I'm not going to go back to the cinema to see it again. You can get it on DVD for like a couple of quid now. So,
exactly. I mean, I think it's got to be something that you really genuinely want to go to the cinema for.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think with something like Bond, I mean, I have no interest in Bond, and I've had no interest in Bond for a while. But there are enough people that would go and see a Bond movie in the cinema.
Yeah.
It's never going to be as many as they want.
Not at the
Of
moment.
course, it's not.
No.
They're not going to. But
will it ever?
Take the fucking hit. Exactly, that's it. For all we know, this is how we live now.
Well, not only it's not just that. I don't think it's even that. I think it's momentum and loss of momentum, and the break. It's been so long. If we go a year without cinemas being around, that is more than long enough for humans to be like, it's out of my system. I just watch things on Netflix, and that's what I do now. The longer we leave it, the less likely that people are actually going to start going back. It's going to get to the point where people just accept, this is the way I live my life, and the cinema is way too expensive. Because that's the thing as well. Once you stop going, you start realizing how much that's costing you every month. You're like, yeah. And I mean, not everyone's like me and you, because me and you will always go to the cinema. I think that's fair to say. I would always go to a cinema to see June. It would be criminal to not watch in the cinema.
That's a movie that needs to be seen on a big screen.
And Godzilla vs Kong, for me, I want to see it in the cinema.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I would watch it VOD if they released it now. So, one or the other. Just don't delay, because delaying it almost guarantees it will be VOD, because there won't be enough cinemas around to show it in cinemas. So,
no.
I don't know. Good rant to start with, though. Enjoyed that. That was quite cathartic.
Yeah, I thought it probably.
Should we talk about some films that we have seen?
Yeah, let's do that.
What have you been watching, Matt?
So let's start with Enola Holmes.
Good, because I've seen that one.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, well, it was on Netflix, and I was cancelling my Netflix subscription, so I thought, well, I've got a couple of weeks left, so I thought I'll watch Enola Holmes.
Good.
So directed by Harry Bradbeer.
Yep.
And
who looks like he's done a lot of TV work.
Yes, yeah, he does have quite a prolific TV bio.
Looking at a lot of the stuff he's done, it's very female orientated.
Yeah.
Stuff. So that makes a lot of sense with this.
It does, yeah. So it stars Millie Bobby Brown as Enola Holmes, Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes, and Sam Claflin as Claflin, as Mycroft Holmes. Oh, and Hannah Bonham Carter. Yeah. So it's based on books or comics. I have not read them.
Yes, it's young adult.
So
books.
Have you read them?
I have not.
Okay,
no.
So we're both in the same situation there. But it's basically.
I am, however, a massive Sherlock Holmes fan. So.
Yes, and I'm quite a big Sherlock Holmes fan. I wouldn't claim to be as big as you, but I am a big. I love Sherlock Holmes. So this is about the teenage sister of Sherlock Holmes, who's already famous in this story. He's already the famous Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
And
I mean, it's what. Okay, I'll get to that later. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
So you carry on.
Well, all I was going to say, because I don't want to spoil it, is that her mother goes missing, and she heads off to London, and then gets.
She has been brought up basically separate from her brothers.
Yes.
Her brothers are slightly older. They've gone. Yeah. They've all gone off to college and whatever, and then they've all gone to their separate things. And she's been completely
isolated
with her mother and like one maid by the looks of it.
Yeah.
In this sort of like overgrown sort of
Manor house.
crumbling manor house.
Yeah.
And their father is, I think, but has been dead for a while by the sound of it, and her mother's brought her up in this sort of like completely sort of pro-feminine, pro sort of like, do what you will, and
yes, be strong, independent, and
exactly.
and do whatever you want.
Yes. Don't let the society pigeonhole who you are, and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously you've got you've got the fact that like you said, she wakes up one morning and her mother is gone.
Yes.
So then she gets in contact with her brothers and
they're
tells
no help. Yeah.
And they turn up, sort of thing.
Yeah, they turn up, and Mycroft Holmes is basically her ward. And is basically saying, you're going to stay here and you're going to get homeschooled and you're going to be, learn how to be a proper woman. And that's like kind of Mycroft's thing. Sherlock kind of just stays out of it and is kind of like, well, you're her, she's your problem, Mycroft, so you deal with it. He seems a lot more sympathetic to Enola, but he still doesn't get involved. And then she runs away basically to find her mother in London, and gets caught up in another.
Mycroft actually wants to put her in a finishing school.
Yeah. He wants to put her in
with the Fiona Shaw's Miss Harrison, who's tremendously. It's a Fiona Shaw character. It's one of those sort of like over the top sort of
totally
prissy women sort of thing. So you get her, and she's obviously infatuated with
Mycroft. Yeah, which I thought was quite humorous actually.
Yes.
So she goes off to London and she gets caught up in something else, which I don't really want to go into because I don't want to spoil it. It's quite a fun little
she
caper.
Meets a young lord on the train who's running away, and they.
Yeah, Tewkesbury.
They basically have adventures as it is. Yeah, like you said, I don't want to go go too deep into it.
But there is a mystery, and Enola is the one to kind of look into this mystery and try and solve it, along with Tewkesbury. So personally, I quite enjoyed this. Overall, I thought certainly the casting I thought was great. I do have some issues though.
I haven't started yet, but yes.
Okay. Do you want to go, or shall I just?
No. You say yours, because I think you liked the movie more than I did.
So it was for me it was just an enjoyable bit of fun. I thought that for me, I think the most mischaracterized character to my mind was Mycroft in this. He came across as stupid.
Yeah.
And Mycroft is the most intelligent brother, even by Sherlock's admittance. Sherlock admits that Mycroft is far more intelligent than Sherlock. He is the intelligent brother, and he came across as stupid.
He described. I think if I remember right, he describes him as more intelligent but lazy.
Yes, the insinuation being that he's already better than Sherlock is, whilst being lazy.
Yes.
And so I kind of felt that was quite mischaracterized. I wasn't too keen on the characterization of Mycroft. I did think Sherlock was played well by Henry Cavill. I'd actually like to see him play that character full time. Do you? I thought there. Yes. I thought there was.
I thought he was terribly miscast.
Okay, I was willing to give him a go there.
There was also something very odd about seeing this massively buff guy.
He was clearly way too buff. I'll give you that.
They did their best to try and with that long jacket.
It was not working.
Make him look as slim as possible.
He looked like the Incredible Hulk in it.
Yes.
Yeah, in his suit. I'll give you that. He did look ridiculous. But what can you do? I mean, the guy is he's a mountain, and presumably when he was doing this, he was like getting ready for or filming The Witcher. So, the dude was built.
And the portrayal was very odd. It was very. So, do you know about the case that's going on?
I've broad strokes of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the Doyle estate has basically trying to sue Netflix.
Yeah.
Because the book, from what I can understand, it's the books that are still in copyright, which are the later ones, because the early ones are all out of copyright.
Right.
the later ones, Sherlock Holmes is slightly more sympathetic as he gets older. And I think they have a problem with this new Holmes being more like that than, you know, they've changed the emphasis, the way Holmes is, and they're trying to, you know, sue them for all this. And to me, it's a bit okay, right, fine. It seems a bit stupid, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I thought I don't know. It just didn't feel like Sherlock Holmes. And the thing is
he doesn't have much time, to be fair.
Exactly it. It's not a Sherlock Holmes story. It's not about Sherlock Holmes. It's about Enola Holmes.
It is, yes.
Who is a completely, you know, she's a new-ish character.
Well, I would say they certainly handle her better than the fucking BBC show did. So I'll give them that much. One thing I really disliked in this movie, I kind of accepted it the first time. The next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times really got on my nerves. The breaking of the fourth wall with Enola really pissed me off after a while.
I didn't mind the actual breaking of the fourth wall thing. I didn't mind her talking to us.
Oh, it annoyed me.
What I
really
didn't like was all the little, like, cartoony bits and little, like, flickering old style camera with, like, captions.
Oh, yeah.
That really got on my nerves.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't like that. I could have really done without that. I didn't mind the breaking the fourth wall because it kind of made it its own thing, which I thought was okay.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
I think Millie Bob Brown was mostly great.
She's a great actress.
So likable. I think some of her delivery was off, but I think that's probably
her
down
accent.
To yes, her accent.
I think she was struggling against the accent in a few scenes.
I think that's it, and I think it's her probably her inexperience with having to deal with more of a period.
Sure.
Than she's probably used to. But I think she was so wonderful and charming that
she's really charismatic. I think. Yeah.
All of the other cast were all great with what they had.
Yeah.
You know, Cavill. You know, it's Cavill, so it's. He was fine, but
it's hard not to like him.
He was terribly miscast. He wasn't.
I just didn't think there was enough time.
Terrible.
Yeah, Mycroft was awful.
Was this sort of overbearing, and I guess, you know, they kind of needed that to tell the story that they wanted.
But then use a different character, because Mycroft really isn't that character.
No.
And I don't think it was the actor's fault. I think the actor did a superb job with the lines he was given and the role.
Exactly. He did exactly what he needed to do, which is it's not a problem for him. I think some of the feminine stuff was a little overdone.
Yeah.
In places, it was a little too on the nose and a bit too sort of.
I think,
but that's the story. You know, again, it's the story it's trying to tell.
That's the thing, and that's why I think it didn't annoy me too much, because I assumed that going in that was what this was, and for the most part, I don't think, other than Mycroft, who is the character I think suffers the most here, I didn't think it was at the expense of any other characters. I didn't think it didn't make Sherlock look stupid. It didn't, you know,
that was what
that kind of stuff.
Is that they'd be so right on that they'd want to make Sherlock an idiot and, you know, make him worse than her. They didn't do that, thank God. So it doesn't have that. I think as long as you take it for what it is, which is a really good. Young person movie, I think.
Yeah, kind of almost coming of age, almost.
Yeah, it's a definite coming of age movie, and I think my only real gripe with the movie is that half of the time it felt like it was busy setting up other things. Sure,
it feels like it's the start of a series, doesn't it? Very much so.
You've got all these characters they sort of introduce that they do nothing with. So the one that gets short shrift most is Edith, played by Susan Wokoma, who is this sort of she's this jiu-jitsu training sort of, you know, badass, you know, character that has worked with her mother. She's
doing like some illegal jiu-jitsu school above above some shop somewhere, and
they sort of basically introduce her just to sort of go, oh, she exists, here you go.
Yeah.
She's going to come up later, and it's like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah, and by later you mean another movie.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
She has like an exchange, obviously, with Enola. She has an exchange with Sherlock, and then she's gone.
That's it, yes.
And I kind of thought, oh, she'll come back towards the end of the movie, she'll help out Enola, something will happen. Nope.
No,
Set
not
her
at
up,
all.
move on.
And there's also the thing with her mother is they set up all this stuff with like op secrets and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, but you're not. By the end of the movie, it's like, yeah, but you're not going to learn anything about
Well,
that.
I mean,
That's
I got
all
to
for a
the
later movie.
yeah, I got to the end of the movie, and I got to pretty much like about 5 minutes before the end of the movie, and I was like, but what about your mum?
Yeah,
We're not going to do that. And then it's like literally the last 5 minutes. They're like, oh, there she is. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, but we're not going to tell you anything. Like, okay.
No.
And it's fine to sequel bait, but given that Netflix are cancelling series left, right, and centre, I have my concerns.
Yeah. I mean, by all
Tell
means,
a story. Tell us a
set up for
story.
exactly. Set up for a sequel by all means.
Yeah.
But don't make it a plot point that you're not going to deal with in the first film.
I agree completely.
Because it's a pretty big, hefty thing to deal with. You know, the
It is.
disappearance of her mother is not
And
the
it's-
actual focus of the film.
No, and it's set up for the first like half hour or so. It's set up as the focus of the movie, and then it's just dropped, and it's literally dropped and forgotten about pretty much for 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
And then in the end, it's picked back up, but even then, you don't really get any answers to anything.
Nope. They don't tell you anything really. So, I mean, it's lovely. It was nicely directed.
It was,
everything-
and I thought it was well acted for the most part.
Some of the effects were a little ropey, but that's
The
fine.
fireworks explosion thing looked real
Yeah.
dodgy. Yeah.
Some of the city stuff didn't quite look great, but you know, it's a small thing. Like I said, overall, I think it was an entertaining enough, and I definitely would watch another.
So would I. It feels like a movie that wants to be a series, to be honest, rather
Yeah.
than a movie. And I think it would have been better placed as a series.
Again, it's another thing with Netflix. They're Netflix movies. We've been saying for the last couple of Netflix releases, they all feel like they would be better as a series.
Yeah. I wonder if Netflix are kind of turning off of series and just trying to move towards doing movies.
Maybe
Because then if they don't make another one, it's like, oh, fine, we just didn't make another one. You know, rather than when you make a series, it's like, okay, well, we're expecting another.
they can do a
series
one and done
here.
thing.
Yeah. Or if it does really well, then they can make another movie. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, as a sort of historical piece and as a Sherlock Holmes piece, I mean, if you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan like I am, you're going to find a lot wrong with it. It's
For sure.
But it's clearly not for that. It's not designed. It's kind of, it hinges on that, but it's not about Sherlock. It's so I can have enough distance to go, okay, it's trying to be its own thing. Fine, that's, you know, it's that. However, the portrayals of those characters are a little iffy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a bit of a weird one to sort of review as a Sherlock Holmes fan. But as a movie fan, I'd say it's okay. It's not a bad movie. It was perfectly enjoyable, and mostly that was helped by the fact that Millie Bobby Brown is so charming and you know, sweet.
I think she's got a real bright future ahead of her.
I think so too. She's got a producer's credit on this, and she's like the youngest person to ever have a producer's credit.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, she's got her own production company. She's
Wow.
she's-
Imagine that. I've done nothing in the 36 years
I
I've been
know,
on this
it
planet.
makes it sick, doesn't it? She's like 16 and she's already got her own production company. It's
Well,
like,
fair play to her.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
We're pathetic.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, not her. No, she's not. We are. I'm sorry. But I think, you know, it's a nice movie on Netflix that
It's
that
a bit of fun.
yeah.
That's what I kind of took it as anyway.
I'd say the run, it did feel a little long. It did certainly feel it's 2 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so. I think, which is probably a writings failure, really.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But you know, yeah, it was a perfectly serviceable,
yeah,
like a likable character, and you know, a fair enough watch.
yes, yeah, I think so. So, what else have you watched, if anything?
So I also watched Vampires versus the Bronx,
Oh, Jesus Christ!
which basically came out, I think, this week.
Okay.
So this is directed by Oz Rodriguez, starring Jaden Michael, Gerard Jones III, Gregory Diaz IV,
Okay.
and apparently it's got Method Man in it, but that doesn't mean anything to me. I just
So-
other than the fact that I'm aware of him.
So this sounds like a sci-fi original movie.
It's a Netflix movie.
Oh, so it's got a bit of money then.
Yeah, it's a Netflix movie.
Because it
yeah.
sounds like one of those movies that would be like, filmed at night and so dark that you can't see anything, and like one of those movies, like I don't know,
It does sound like that, yeah.
zombies versus wrestlers or something. Just sounds like something like that.
Yeah.
But go on.
So this is it takes place in the Bronx, clearly, and it's Miguel Martinez. You're introduced to him as the main character, and he is putting up posters to save the bodega.
Okay.
And basically, a company has come in and they're gentrifying the Bronx, so they're buying up businesses. And so there's a few really funny nods that I thought they're so first of all, the company that's buying up all the real estate is called Murnau,
Right.
and their symbol is a picture of Vlad Tepes.
Subtle.
That tells you exactly where you are and what you need to know.
Sure.
And also the guy that's sort of like doing the deals is this guy called Frank Polidori, which is like, okay, fine,
Fantastic.
So this is tells you where you are. So
it's super on the nose and just a fun comedy, clearly.
Yes. You also get Zoe Saldana's in the beginning in a very Drew Barrymore Scream essence.
Oh, right.
I'm not spoiling anything. Basically, she turns up. She's got a nail bar, and they buy her nail bar, basically, sort of thing.
Okay.
You get. That's all I'll say on that sort of thing. These businesses are blowing up, and these three young kids, they basically spend all their time in the bodega. They've kind of been brought up there. The guy who runs it is this really cool guy who. He helps them out. He sort of helps them with their homework, and they play video games in his bodega.
Okay.
And while that's happening, you've got sort of like new people coming in, and basically one night, while they're out, he spills a drink on a sort of a gangster, and the gangster chases him into this car park where a vampire turns up and eats the guy, and of course the kid sort of witnesses this and realizes that what's going on is it's actually vampires that are coming in, and they're obviously trying to take over the sort of and be sort of like this, like use them as food and all that sort of stuff. So it's heavily riffing on a lot of sort of previous stuff. So at times it feels very Lost Boysy.
Okay.
And it's got lots of like little references. I mean, obviously nowhere, not subtle at all, but I did find it very funny. The three leads are really good. They're really likable. They're totally believable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked them. They're really good. They've got their mums are sort of like they no one believes them when they say
of
they're
course, as in any sort of
exactly.
kid horror movie, teen horror movie, the parents should never believe the kids ever.
No. And they've got these, they break into this courthouse at one point where they're living,
Right.
and they film them, but of course they don't show up on them.
Yeah. So they're filming an empty thing.
Of course they're filming an empty thing, and there's like there's a slightly bigger plot with the vampires that doesn't really come to anything. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
For mostly the vampire effects are quite the makeup's quite good. The effects of the movement's a little ropey.
Okay.
But having said that, it's a nice kids movie. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
It sounds fun.
It is exactly that.
Yeah.
As long as you're not expecting anything great or new or groundbreaking, it's just a fun, Lost Boys-esque kids movie with these three kids who are trying to sort of save their community and sort of have a little sort of vampire action. It's not bad. The end is a bit. It's a bit sort of like, a confrontation, and it's like over, and it's like, oh, was that it? Okay, fine.
Right.
But having said that, it was a thoroughly enjoyable watch. Like I said, it riffs on a lot, but it's as long as you're willing to go with that, it was fun.
I mean, it sounds like it telegraphs the fact that it's going to do that pretty early on. And I like all of that kind of hokey stuff.
Exactly.
It
has a real sort of Goonies sort of
charm
feel about it, and like I said, when that a movie like this really hinges on how well you like the leads.
Yeah.
And all three of these leads were great. They were really, really fun, and you wanted to stay with them. They weren't annoying, so it does exactly what you think of a movie called Vampires versus the Bronx. It's a fun little silly kids movie. I really enjoyed it. I guess some of it's not too gruesome, so I think mostly, as long as not the very young can watch it, but I think most kids could watch it. It's very family friendly. There's a few curse words, I think, but apart from it was a perfectly serviceable kids movie.
Well, it sounds fun. I might well check that one out myself. A film, but not my usual fare. A documentary. I was tempted to watch this for a long time. I don't know how long it's been out now, but it's been on my radar for, I'd say, probably about 3 months or so now. Was Inmate Number 1, The Rise of Danny Trejo.
Oh, yes.
A documentary about Danny Trejo's life. And, not too much to say about it, really, because obviously I can't argue about the plot or, anything like that. Just to say it was a really well-made documentary, and, what an interesting guy and life, and amazing the way he's turned his life around.
Completely turn your life around.
He is a real inspirational story. He kind of goes through all of his childhood and the way he was brought up, and how he got, into his life of drugs and armed robbery and then prison time and all that kind of stuff. It got some really good interviews. They got Donald Logue. They've got Robert Rodriguez, Michelle Rodriguez, Cheech Marin, and then his sons and daughter as well.
Wow!
It's a really nice documentary, and a lot of them talking to him now about his life, and then talking to people that know him. It's really, really good. And yeah, it's just a real sort of, it's kind of harrowing in places, but then ultimately a real feel-good kind of redemption story, a real-life redemption story. And he just seems like the nicest guy now. Mm-hmm. He just seems lovely, Yeah. Just seems like a lovely guy who at one point was a legitimately dangerous man. I mean, he was like a boxing champion several years in a row in prison. And obviously they he got involved in Hollywood just playing prisoners. I think at one point they said he was asked to come to this prison and just like play this part. And he said he was almost kind of offended in the way that the actors were acting like they were in prison. Whereas he was like legit looked like he was going to kill someone, And he was saying like his tattoos were like, as soon as people saw the tattoo, they were immediately like, please take your top off. Let's get that in shot. We want that in shot, Yeah. And he kind of went very quickly from. He kind of rose to stardom very quickly, which I was quite surprised about. He kind of started as an extra, but almost immediately they were like, "You've got the look. You need to be in this more. We need you way more."
It's exactly this. He's got the look that like movie directors try to create in a character.
Absolutely.
You want your character to be the biggest badass possible.
And Danny Trejo is that.
You want to give him loads of tattoos, and you want him like to have long hair and a beard and stuff, and you want him to be look evil. And Danny Trejo is all of that.
He is, just
by being him.
100%. And he was saying that he got loads of tattoos. His dad hated tattoos, so he was like, tattoo me up.
Here I come. Yeah.
But yeah, and It's really fun. It is really fun, and you know it's a real feel good kind of redemption thing. He does loads of talks to prisoners now on drugs and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I've heard that he does a lot of he does a lot of
But not in that fake celebrity kind of way. In a very
No,
genuine, real way, where he has been in this situation and he's
exactly. That's
genuinely
it.
trying to help these people.
Yeah.
And the movie or the documentary. Near the end of the movie, he literally picks up one of his, I think it's one of his school friends from prison who's just done time in prison. He just come out of prison. He picks him up, takes him home, you know, gives him somewhere to stay, looks after him while he's kind of, you know, finding his feet and stuff. A genuinely lovely guy who's just like happy to. One of the I think it might be Michelle Rodriguez says in the documentary that she thinks that he doesn't feel like he's atoned for everything he's done.
Yeah.
She said like everyone around him, everyone everywhere believes that he's atoned for everything he's done and he's made amends, but she thinks that he still doesn't feel that way. And he still lives in the neighborhood that he grew up in. He owns his mother's house, and he's just loved in the neighborhood now. He says, like, you know, at one point the police were terrified of me, and they, you know, they'd stop me every chance they got, and now they love him, you know, and the whole area loves him. He just goes around, drives around helping people in his neighborhood all the time. Just a genuinely lovely guy, and a really funny one of the interviewers at one point, which made me laugh, said like, you know, Danny, aren't you afraid of being typecast? And he says, like, you know, how so? And they were like, well, you know, you're always playing like a mean Chicano guy with tattoos, and he just says, like, well, I am a mean Chicano guy with tattoos. Finally they're getting it right, you know. It's like he was more than happy to be typecast, because he was like, I'm getting paid. He couldn't believe the amount of money he was getting paid for all this. At one point he said on his first, I think it might be the first movie or the second movie, he literally, when he got paid, ran to the bank and cashed it straight away because he thought they paid him too much. And then he realized, like, they were like, no, you get paid that every week, and he just couldn't believe it. But yeah, not really much to say about it, really, other than it's a real great documentary about a really interesting man and a really lovely man, and it's a nice redemption story.
Yeah, definitely needs more of that sort of thing.
Totally, yeah. It's been on my radar for a while, and then last night I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm just gonna give that a go. So
what's that? Is that on any particular?
I rented it on Amazon for like £2. Right. So it's around. I don't know where it is. Presumably it's somewhere for free, but I don't know where.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good.
Cool.
Have you seen anything else?
I have. I have also seen Inheritance.
Oh, I was tempted to see that, and then I saw that it had bad reviews, and I was like, that might mean it's really good. Or it might not, and I wasn't sure whether to take the gamble or not. So tell me about Inheritance.
So it's directed by Vaughan Stein. It stars Lily Collins and Simon Pegg, and it's also got Connie Nielsen and Patrick Warburton in it. So basically it's about the main character of Lily Collins is Lauren Monroe. She is this she's DA, and she comes from an incredibly rich, well-to-do family, and her father at the very beginning dies.
Okay.
He has a heart attack and he dies, and from the beginning you get the feeling that she's the sort of like the black sheep of the family.
Okay.
So when the will's read, her brother gets, like, I can't remember the exact figure, something like $20 million, and she gets $1 million.
Right.
So you already know she's obviously, you know, there's obviously stuff that she's done that obviously her parents didn't agree with. So you get the impression that the father didn't like that she became working for the people as opposed to working for her family and all that sort of stuff. And when after the initial inheritance, the lawyer comes up to her and says, okay, your dad also left you this, and he gives her this envelope with a flash drive and some keys in it.
Right.
So she plays this flash drive, and it's her father telling her that locked away on the property is a secret that he doesn't want to talk about in case people are listening, and whoever it is, this secret must remain locked away, and he just thought that she was the one to deal with it. So that's it.
Okay.
So she goes to he tells her that this thing was hidden where her fort was at one point, sort of thing. So
As a child.
Yes. So she goes there, and there's this bunker,
Okay.
and in this bunker is an emaciated Simon Pegg,
Right.
who is chained to the wall in this bunker, and he's you find out that he's been there for like 30 years.
Okay, so they've just been feeding this man and keeping him in a bunker.
Yeah.
Right.
So he basically says, I know all about. He says, I know all about you because your father used to tell me everything. He used to brag about his life, and over the years, he told me all this stuff. He says, he kept me here for all these years. He said, you learned that there's something to do with there was a hit and run, and he says because he was gonna go to the police, her father knocked him out and put him in this place.
Jesus, this is like cruel and unusual punishment. I mean,
Yeah.
you would have thought they would have killed him. This is horrendous. So they just kept him.
So
Wow.
he's obviously he cries, and he says he just wants to be released. He's never
Sure.
going to he won't do anything against them. And of course she has this case going on, which is against big businesses.
Right.
And all basically her father's people. She has a case against them. So you've got this sort of stuff going on in the background, and you've got this Simon Pegg character who maybe he's telling the truth, maybe maybe there's something more to it. You don't know, and I'm not going to spoil it.
No.
I will say Pegg's great as this sort of like this. He apparently lost ridiculous amounts of weight for this character, and it shows. He's really sort of like thin and sort of like falling apart. But I'm not sure he's quite thin enough and falling apart enough for a guy who's been in there for 30 years. But hey ho.
I guess it depends how much they fed him in the 30 years, I suppose.
Yeah, I think he's apparently been living on protein powder and peanut butter. So
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway, when he says he says he'll tell her what what's going on if she gives him like a steak and a bottle of scotch and a piece of key lime pie. And he has this sort of weird mantra in his pocket. He has folded up this recipe for key lime pie, and he seems to have this mantra in his head, which is the recipe for this key lime pie. I thought which is quite cool, which is quite an interesting little thing. So without spoiling anything, overall it's not a bad movie. There are certain things that I'm not sure I buy, which is a fundamental problem with some of the stuff. It's like I don't get that. I don't buy that. Not trying to sort of say what they are because they give things away. I'm not completely convinced I buy Lily Collins as a DA. To be fair, even though she's perfectly good. I'm not completely convinced by her character.
So do you think that's a writing issue rather than an acting issue?
Yeah, I think it's a writing issue, but it's the character that they she's playing. So there's a lot to like in this film. It does drag, but I feel like, annoyingly, it's another one of those ones where it feels like with a few writing tweaks,
it could be great.
It could have been a better thing. I think when something happens in the last sort of third of the movie, I think they could have brought that forward, and they could have done more with those characters.
Right. Okay.
To sort of bring it out. It's directed fine. It looks okay. It feels a little cheap, which is fine for what it is. You're not expecting great things from this. It's a small story, as it were, but it was okay. It just, I think the problems with its overall story is whether if you just go with it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But there are some sort of fundamental times where you're like, well, for me that doesn't feel true. the overall way it ends is okay. It ends fine. It has a definite ending, so which is good. But it would have been nicer to see the development of those characters properly. It would have been nice to see a little bit more of their relationships, and you know, there's stuff with the brother is he's running for Congress,
Right.
like for a sec. I think it's a second term in Congress, and you get like little things with him, and you get stuff that some a character knows about what's going on, and there's stuff with the lawyer that you think, okay, well that could be. It's all stuff that could have been handled better.
That's a shame.
So I think it's not a great movie. It's okay. Peg's performance is great, and Collins is, even though I'm not completely convinced by her, she plays it well enough that it's okay. I think everybody else was sort of Patrick Warburton and Connie Nielsen are terribly underused, and I think just with a few tweaks it could have been a better movie.
That's a real shame.
So yeah, I can't say I would
recommend it. No.
If there's nothing else to watch, maybe, but it's a movie that could have been better.
Sure. Yeah. Oh well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Have you watched anything else?
For the movie-wise, no.
Fair enough. Nor have I. So that's where we are with that.
But I thought we were going to talk. I thought we were going to talk Cobra Kai.
Oh yes, we were going to talk Cobra Kai. So I watched Cobra Kai years ago, and then I watched season 2 when it came to Netflix.
Mm-hmm. And
you've just watched all of it.
I've just watched all. Yes, when it came to Netflix, I watched it all.
Yeah. What did you think of Cobra Kai?
It's fucking awesome.
It's great, isn't it?
It's so good. It's so well done. It's brilliantly written. It's brilliantly played. It's what I love about it is it's nostalgia done right.
Yes, because it doesn't necessarily rely on that nostalgia.
No.
It has it. It has it in places, but it's not overwhelming nostalgia.
No.
It's superb. And being around that Johnny age, I guess I'm a bit younger than Johnny, but around that kind of age, I so often find myself feeling as out of touch as him.
Oh, completely. I am completely anachronistic. I am so out of touch with everything. Yeah. I really am. So
I deal with tech a lot in my job, and obviously video editing, so that side of it not so much, but the music side and the social side, I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm like 100% there.
And he's the biggest revelation to me.
Where has he been, man?
I know.
Like, he's such a good actor in this.
He's so great. He's so much better than Ralph Macchio is.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio's fine at being the dick that he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
What I like about it as well is that it's that not only do they redeem his character,
more than redeem, I think,
of Johnny, they also don't demonize Daniel to the point where he's a complete villain.
You can see both sides of the story.
Exactly. They do a really good job of showing that they're flawed people.
Yes,
they're not,
and they're both. What I really like, my favourite scenes of Cobra Kai have been the two dining scenes. You've got the dining scene in season 1 when he goes to Daniel's house.
Yeah.
And then you've got the dining scene in season 2 where they're in the restaurant and they accidentally show up at the same time. And I think I love those scenes where you realise they're so alike. They're both different, but they're so alike.
Damaged by their family. They both, they both have the same sort of goals. They believe in the same sort of things, really.
They do. And I thought there was that wonderful scene in season 2 in that dining scene where Daniel scolds Johnny for bringing Kreese back. He's like, why would you bring Kreese back? He's awful.
Yeah.
And Johnny just turns around to him and says, because I believe that people can change.
Yeah.
And you can see in Daniel's face that he's like, oh shit, you're right. Like, that's what I'm meant to preach. Like, oh no. And it's wonderful scenes like that that really made this show for me. And also, I think that the child cast is really good as well.
They're all great. I believe they're all kids that have martial arts training anyway.
That kind of shows.
So they've already have that, which is good, which is great. Yeah, like you said, all of those characters are all really good and really likable. I mean, the main kiddie is Miguel. He is fantastic. I really like him. And in a very short time, those characters develop so well. I mean, it's the biggest one. I guess is Hawk.
Hawk is like amazing. The guy playing him, unbelievable.
Jacob Bartrand is the kiddie,
Superb.
and Zolo I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name here. Mardinuna. Sorry, he plays Miguel. But Hawk has got that. He starts off as this bullied,
nerdy kid.
Nerdy kid who's got a facial disfigurement, and he doesn't believe in himself, and by the end of season 2 he's a monster.
Absolute monster.
He's gone full circle, and he's become a bully. But the thing is, it's believable.
Yes, and you can see that there's a redemption story and an arc about to happen there,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's really well written. I think all of the characters are believable. I think all of the kids have their reasons for being the way they are. And, like at the end of season 1, when Kreese turned up, I was immediately like giddy that Kreese turned up. And then immediately afterwards, I was like, oh, you probably jumped the shark here.
Yeah,
but then they did
too much.
Season 2, I was proven wrong. Gleefully proven wrong. I loved what they did with him. And then even then, I'm watching season 2, and obviously we've got the climax. The climax is what it is. But while I'm watching season 2, there are some scenes where I'm like, oh, I can see why Kreese is the way he is now as well,
Yeah.
Like maybe Kreese isn't just, he's damaged. He's really damaged.
Where he follows him to his where he's staying.
Yeah.
It was a great little scene, but
amazing.
Even with all that, he's just still a dick.
He's a dick, but the good thing is, because in Karate Kid, he's a dick for the sake of being a dick. He's just an asshole, right? But watching this show, they've done such a good job at fleshing out characters that were never really fleshed out.
No.
I think in Karate Kid 3 they do mention Kreese has got his really rich buddy and they served in Vietnam and stuff, so I guess you do have a little bit of that, but not really. I mean, this show has done such a good job of filling out and rounding out these characters. I also really loved in season 2 that the scenes where they take what's his name, their childhood friend who's dying of cancer, they take him out.
That was such a good episode.
It's such a great episode.
The actual guy himself was actually genuinely dying.
I heard that. Yeah,
he was genuinely dying. So, and he said, no, I completely will want to be there. I want to do it, and I'm happy to sort of to show what's going on and to be part of this. And it's such a great. I mean, as soon as they get on the bikes, you're like, okay, there's going to be a bar fight.
Of course. I mean, of course.
You can see it coming a mile.
But you find yourself cheering along with them, and you're like, yeah, beat these innocent people up.
And it's, what a end as well to that episode. It's like, God,
that episode, heartbreaking, but also really dark comedy. Because in Karate Kid, he says about taking someone out in a body bag, or Daniel being taken out in a body bag. It's like, oh, wow. I just thought it's a wonderful show with a surprising amount of heart. And it's a show that really could have fallen flat on its face if it had just relied on nostalgia. And it doesn't in any way. It's got nostalgia where it needs it, and the nostalgia complements the narrative. It's not the narrative.
No. And one of my favourite scenes, I love the scene where he goes on, Donnie goes online, and I
the wet t-shirt thing and stuff.
Yeah, it's so funny. I love the fact that
his idea of porn
is wet t-shirt, which is fantastic. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
there's lovely little jokes like that, and how his whole attitude,
the way he treats the pawn shop.
Oh yeah.
He buys a laptop from the pawn shop, but he treats them like absolute shit. And they're also like, we're a pawn shop, we're not tech support. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I genuinely love that show. And I'm really glad, for all the Netflix bashing we did at the start of the show. I'm really glad they are renewing that.
Yeah.
And as with news of a new Godzilla anime coming out, if they fix their model, they'd have me around for longer. But as it stands, when Karate Kid or Cobra Kai season 3 comes out, they'll get me for a month max, and then I'll be gone again.
Have you seen the trailer? Have you seen the trailer for the 3rd season?
Yes, the teaser. It doesn't show anything. It just shows enough, and it got me really excited.
Yeah. I think my guess is that Danny and Johnny are going to team up.
I think that was from the very beginning of this show. I think that was the inevitable, because Daniel doesn't have time to run the dojo by himself. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought, I think they're going to team up against Kreese, and they're going to have a competition, and it's going to be, LaRusso and Johnny team up, and then in the end, I think Johnny's going to run Miyagi-Do in the way that LaRusso wants, or between the two of them, they'll realize. And either that, or maybe it'll be Cobra Kai, but it'll be the new Cobra Kai. And I think that's inevitably the way it's going to go, and I'm really excited for that, because I like that character arc and story of them both realizing how alike they are. And also, the show's done a really good job of being like, damn, now that you're mentioning it, like, looking at it from Johnny's perspective, I can kind of see what he means. Like, it was his girlfriend that LaRusso was trying to get in with, and you're like, actually, when you look at it from that perspective, they're kind of right. Yep. He's kind of got a point. And then he got beat up by Miyagi and stuff. It's like, and LaRusso started that. He poured the water on him in the toilet and stuff in Karate Kid. You're like, when you break it down like that, you're like, actually, maybe I was rooting for the wrong guy.
And I was thinking, a lot of the martial arts is really well done. It's really cool. That
it makes a lot more sense now that you said the kids actually know martial arts.
Yeah. The mass brawl in the school was fantastic.
It's ridiculous, but fantastic. It
was completely over the top and silly, but brilliant. I loved every minute of it,
and I quite enjoyed like how silly it was in contrast to the ending. Yes. It was a nice. I think a lot of people might dislike that contrast. I like that kind of contrast.
I did. I like the contrast. I thought it was really good. And what I will say is, I could see what was going to happen come a mile off.
Yeah, so did I.
However, I got the character wrong.
Oh, you thought it would go the other way?
I thought it was going to be Sam.
Is that the evil girl?
Sam was going to be the one that.
Or not evil girl, but you know who I mean.
No, Danny's daughter.
Oh no! See, I thought it was going to be the other girl.
No, I thought she would do it to Danny's daughter.
Okay, I thought it would go the other way actually.
Yes, but... so I thought that was which would have made it worse for Dan. For Dan. But as it is, it's like yes. A great sort of cliffhanger of an ending with him going in, that happening and him in a hospital and poor, Johnny getting fucked over left, right and centre and then going to the Cobra Kai and finding out that he's been usurped. That's a great fucking ending.
It's terrific, isn't it? I immediately wanted to watch the next episode and I can't. But tremendous.
We're getting 2 seasons, I think. Maybe.
Which is great. Yeah, I mean that's good, and I'm happy that they're committing to 2 seasons, and give us a proper ending. Superb.
And I did hear a rumor, whether I don't know whether it's a real rumor or whether it's just a real thing or whether it's just the rumor mill, that what's her name? The Karate Kid, the next Karate Kid will turn up.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I guess. I
want that because I like that film. I think.
Do you?
I
thought it was awful. Doesn't she look after pigeons on her roof or some birds? It's a hawk, is it? I can't really remember.
I remember it being an eagle or something, or a hawk or something like that.
Right.
But yes, I mean it's terrible, but I really enjoyed it. I'd really want her character to turn up.
It would be interesting if they did. I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually seen her in anything for a long time. Because at one point she was huge. And I haven't seen her for a long, long time. I wonder what
Um,
she's up to.
Hilary Swank.
Yeah, but I mean, at one point, Hilary Swank was
She's
huge, right?
she's actually got a Netflix series at the moment.
Oh, so she's attainable by Netflix.
She's it's called Away.
Okay.
It's about an astronaut. She's an astronaut. It's
would...
like a home life thing.
Right.
And she was really good in The Homesman, and so she's been in a few really good things.
Oh,
and
Hilary Swank's a tremendous actress.
Yeah, and of course, our biggest one for us is the $1 Million Baby, which is that the one that kicks you in the kidneys and leaves you for dead.
One of the greatest films of all time, but a film I never want to see again.
No,
so depressing.
Such a great movie, and I really hope she does sort of turn up. I think it would be fun to see a different aspect of Miyagi's teachings, maybe. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. Why not? I mean, at this point, they've got so much goodwill with me. I just think go for it, guys. Go for whatever you want to do.
And I also get the impression that Elizabeth Shue might be coming back.
They were hinting at it, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were certainly hinting at it.
So I think I'd like to say it can only get better, but
I hope so.
We'll see.
I hope so.
But I think it's a genuinely brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, amazingly well done series. It's so good and massively refreshing to sort of like find out that it was hyped up,
and it met the hype,
and it truly meets that hype. I think it's a great series.
Excellent.
This is one of those things that annoys me about Netflix. Actually, Netflix does this thing where it saves series. It
saves other ones, but it kills its own. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't allow other companies to take up its own series, which really pisses me off. It wants it all to itself. It doesn't allow, because the OA could be sold to another. Amazon could pick that up.
I think they're terrified of like an Amazon taking something like the OA or Santa Clarita Diet and making it a real big success.
Yeah,
I think they're terrified of that.
It's really annoying.
They're happy to do it the other way. They'll save Lucifer and bring Lucifer over and all of that stuff. But I think they're terrified that if they let something go and it becomes a success, it'll be egg on their face.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And once you've watched The Boys season 2 completely, we'll talk about that as well. I've been keeping up to date with it, and it's about to go off a cliff, I think. But
oh really?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It's still alright at the moment, but the last episode was certainly
going back to Cobra Kai for a second. I was told that the second season got very woke, and I
didn't think it did.
I completely disagree with that. I think obviously they added another female character, and it was slightly more female centric, but I don't think that was to its detriment. I don't think it was trying to push an agenda in the slightest.
I would also argue that I don't think it made it female centric. I think it balanced it.
Yes.
To be honest, I didn't think that the female characters got more screen time than the guys. I think that some of them did because they needed to be introduced. But then after that, I think it was equal. I like it. I think it was fine. Yeah, I don't know where that. I think people are finding woke where woke isn't at the moment. I think because it's become such an awful thing in Hollywood. I think people are overreacting now to things, and it's like, not really, not in this case.
And also the other thing is the episode where they go to the 80s party, seeing her in the pretty in pink dress, that made my day. That's fantastic. And I do love the fact that he was wandering around as James Spader's character, but everybody kept saying he was the character from Saturday Night Fever, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, great show. I'm looking forward to season 3 and season 4.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, there's not an awful lot of news to talk about. Everything's delayed and everything's crap. So that's where we are with that.
A couple of trailers that I thought were okay. I weirdly. It's a movie that people don't like very much, but I adore. Is The Craft. I
love The Craft. Me and my fiance are really looking forward to the sequel.
Have you seen the trailer?
Yeah, I thought it looked alright.
What? See, now I was expecting it to really hate it.
I
was
didn't.
thinking,
Yeah,
oh
I was as
god,
well
it's
actually,
gonna
but I thought it was fine.
But I thought it was. I actually quite like the trailer. I thought it
Yeah.
was really good, and I love the fact that it's not. It's basically a sequel. It's
Yeah, and again,
there's
that I
a picture
like. Don't
of Nancy
remake.
and everything. Yes, absolutely. Don't remake it. Do something different with it. And I actually thought it looked all right. I thought it
Yeah.
looked pretty fair. One that I didn't like, however, was the new trailer for The Witches.
I haven't seen the new trailer for it.
I saw, and I was like, oh, I don't understand why you're doing this, because the actual one that already exists is a really good interpretation of the book. So why bother?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
as much as I like Anne Hathaway, she's never ever going to be compared to Angelica Houston.
No.
It's a bit of a...
Well, I mean, she's always going to be compared to it, but negatively.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there is no comparison. So,
no.
And changing the character is fine. That's not an issue. It's making a young black kid, that's not an issue at all. I just thought it just didn't look like it was going to be anything more than the other one was. So
yeah,
why felt a bit. Meh. What else is there? Was there anything else? I don't think there was much. Yeah, a Borat movie.
Sure.
Considering I've never seen the first one, so I'm not.
I think I've seen it. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of comedy.
No,
to be honest, he seems like a fascinating guy. Whenever I see interviews with Sacha Baron Cohen,
he himself.
I think he's fascinating, and I love hearing interviews with him. But yeah, his product's not for me. But as a person, he seems really intelligent and a really interesting guy to sort of if he released like an audio book or something, I'd happily listen to it. But not a big fan of his character stuff.
I liked it I liked the idea, because originally he was going to be playing Freddie Mercury, wasn't he?
I thought he would have been a great fit,
and I think he would have been really good for that. But apparently the band thought he would be too distracting. And I actually don't. I think I've seen him in stuff where he's just being an actor.
He can act really well.
Yeah, exactly. I really like his character in Hugo.
Yeah,
I think he's a really good character. Oh, excuse me. So, but there we go. Also, we got a trailer for season 2 of The Warrior, which was a series that I really liked.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen season 1, so I guess I should probably watch
really
that.
Good. It's based on Bruce Lee's idea that became...
Oh, that show. Yes, I'm aware of it.
It's the one that became Kung Fu. So it's actually based on his idea, and it's really good. I really like it. I really enjoy it. It's got really great martial arts and an enjoyable characters. I would highly recommend The Warrior. So yeah, season 2, that's sort of coming. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and
apart from that, I think that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, like I said, new Godzilla anime. Happy about that. Separate from the other trilogy, which I'm glad about, to be honest.
I mean, what else could you do with that? I mean,
it's done, and to be honest, it had some really good moments, that anime, but overall, it was all right. I think
the first one was phenomenal.
Yes,
that first episode was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
The second one was okay. The third one certainly had its moments.
Its moments, for sure. But I'm excited about a new one.
I really enjoyed it, though.
Yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy most things with Godzilla written on it, if I'm honest. but yeah, overall I enjoyed it. But I'm really excited for this one. I like that they're because I think Netflix are a bit hit and miss with their anime. Sometimes they're amazing, like Castlevania. Other times not so much. But I'm excited they've got one of the animators from Studio Ghibli involved. They're also saying that it's going to be a mix of hand-drawn and CGI. I'm hoping more hand-drawn than CGI.
Yeah. Yep.
But we'll see. I'm excited for it anyway. In any case,
I'm quite excited for the He-Man show that's going to be on Netflix. I'm hoping that it's going to be good.
That's from the Castlevania guys, though, isn't it?
It is, yes.
And that'll, that'll look amazing if nothing else.
It's Kevin Smith's baby, so it's got a great cast. So we'll see how that goes. There was a trailer I saw on Netflix for like a Greek gods one that looked interesting. I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, I think it's Blood of Zeus. I think it's
Ooh,
called.
that sounds interesting.
I think that's not. It's coming out soon, so I might give that a go. And they've got a Dragon's Dogma one, which is
Interesting.
looks interesting. Because I've played that game, and it looks like the game actually.
Oh.
The cards it doesn't look as well animated, but it looks okay. I might give that a go.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I mean, there are things that are around.
There are things, yeah.
There's a couple of movies that I've got my eye on to watch for the next show. We'll see
Yeah,
how
I
we go.
don't have anything on my radar at the moment, but I'm sure I'll find some things between now and then. Of course, next time we're presumably going to talk about a movie.
We will.
Have you got a movie in mind?
I do. Would you like to
Yeah,
hear
go for
the
it.
idea?
Yeah.
I think we should probably do Evil Dead 2.
Okay. Sure. That's a fine option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Up
I
for
think
that.
it's it being Halloween and everything.
It's getting near Halloween, isn't it? Certainly by the time we do it. Yeah, I'm up for that. Sounds good.
Brilliant.
Sounds good to me. Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there, and I haven't watched that for a while, so I'll quite happily watch
I
that.
think Evil Dead 2 mainly because it is better than 1.
And there's a lot to talk about as well.
And yeah, I think you get the fully realized Ash in those.
You do, yes. He's definitely fully realised by the second one.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, sounds good to me. So next time we will do Evil Dead 2, and then after that we'll be back to our regular reviews. Obviously spacing them out at the moment because there's just not a lot out. So every other show being a review show seems to work a lot better at the moment. So
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for listening, everybody, and until next time, take care and yeah, good times.
Bye.